base is dropped on a Friday. And greetings from Ozark, Alabama, Atlanta, Georgia, and all points in between. It's a new round of Soccer's Morning Show. Soccer Down here. John here, Jarrett there. Good morning, Jarrett.
Good morning, John.
Our Thursday, whatever today is, Sean.
It's Thursday.
Thank you.
Oh, it's Friday. I'm sorry.
Is it Friday? Yeah, it's Friday.
Yes,
yeah,
it's Friday.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Sean's like, Friday? Yeah, it's Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking me out and everything. I was like, wait a minute. It's like, did I like have? I know the week is screwed up because the Christmas holiday is, it's like on Sunday instead of like on a Thursday. Yeah, yes, exactly. Friday. Thank you, Sean. Very good. Thanks for the reminder there. But this morning, it's the show before Christmas, and so we did mention that there was going to be airings of grievances. Or airings of grievances. Trying to figure out what my
y'all think that's bad. Just wait till the feats of strength.
Yeah, well, and the thing is that what we are proposing is that if you're doing feats of strength, obviously, please do so in the warmest climes possible. Make sure that everything is okay, and because we don't want you to go outside and do a feat of strength and then like freeze or something because. How is it in Atlanta? Yeah. How is it this morning?
It's 13 where I am degrees.
Okay. It is more than that here, but I'm about 4 hours south of you. But the idea is that it will not get over 33 today. So we had no, I did not. And yes, you may notice my studio space today is a bit interesting, and it is because it is from the boss's bedroom from whence she grew up. So we are in that part of the house today because let's see, I have the mother-in-law, I have. Two nieces. I have the boss, and I have the boss's sister, the sister-in-law. And so I had to find a place to do the show this morning, and it ended up being in the bedroom in which she grew up in. So it was actually not this color for those watching on Twitch. It was a different color when she grew up. So it changed colors at some point in her existence, but no, it was blue. It was not yellow when she grew up. She wanted me to make that point this morning.
Okay.
So so we're here in Ozark, Alabama. Jared is at home, and I am in the boss's childhood bedroom to do the show this morning.
Well, see,
I
mean, in the color is familiar to me. My mother once painted our living room that color. That had a big bay window. I think she was counting on like the sun catching the light and did a little bit. Just I don't think it ever accomplished what she was trying to accomplish with the color of the room.
No, yeah, and so there's stuff to talk about, but obviously what we wanted to do this morning was if folks had any kind of airing of grievances, and I wanted it to be like different grievances than ones. If there was a grievance that you were holding back on for whatever reason, then just this is the time to do it because you've had grievances all year long. But if there was that one grievance or a couple of grievances that you've been kind of holding in your hip pocket, then this would be the time to unveil said grievance and air it publicly. And so that's kind of what we were thinking. That's kind of what we were thinking this morning. But yeah, if you want to do feats of strength, please do them inside and make sure that you post them either to Discord. Or something like that.
The original feats of strength were done inside as well.
That is true, yeah, and because you had Jerry Stiller, Michael Richards, and something akin to a maypole, if I believe correctly.
Well, I mean, it's a Festivus pole. It's just a giant. It's just a giant ass aluminum pole.
Okay. I mean, yeah, because I don't have an aluminum pole here with me to do Festivus properly, but no, it's. So if there's anything on your mind this morning when it comes to the airing of the grievances, go ahead and let us know. There is news to talk about this morning, and obviously there is our bout of silliness that's attached to it. Now I figured what I would do for the opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com, and there's your QR code right there in the middle of the screen. And this morning, it was put out by the Telegraph newspaper, Kickoff Coffee CO on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Put by the Telegraph this morning. The French FA have made an official complaint over Argentina goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez's continued taunting of Kylian Mbappe. The Aston Villa keeper repeatedly took aim at Mbappe after his side beat France on penalties. After the 3-3 draw, Martinez first called for a moment's silence for Mbappe during dressing room celebrations after the game, before continuing in the same vein when Argentina returned to Buenos Aires for a victory parade. There, Martinez carried around a doll with Mbappe's face taped to it, despite standing next to the Frenchman's teammate at PSG, Lionel Messi. Like I said, this is the Telegraph. This is how the Telegraph is writing the story. Martinez, who caused shock with a lewd gesture with the Golden Glove trophy when he was awarded it after the final, has been heavily criticized. And Noel Le Gret, the president of the French FA, has written a letter to his Argentine counterpart, Claudio Tapia, to complain, quote, I wrote to my counterpart from the Argentine Federation, he told West France, I find these excesses abnormal in the context of a sports competition, and I find it difficult to understand. This is going too far. Mbappe's behavior has been exemplary. The French sport minister has also suggested they may make a formal complaint over Martinez's actions. I'm not ruling out discussing this with my counterpart. Emily Ude Castera told RTL Radio, I find all of this quite pitiful, she added. Martinez emerged as one of the heroes, say Kingsley Coman, and then employed a number of intimidatory tactics, including throwing a ball away as he approached the penalty spot that appeared to lead Aurelian Tchouameni shooting wide. So that's the Telegraph this morning.
Y'all just telling on yourselves that you cannot deal with mental games, but thanks for playing. Like,
yes.
Come the hell on, man. Like, whatever. You tell them yourselves.
Yeah, and so it's cool. So it's not cool when it's done by Emi Martinez against Mbappe.
But when Mbappe and company are sitting there doing the Erling Haaland thing, like that was fine. It just, you know what? Like, my thing is with this, don't pretend, like, don't give them a reason to be. Don't give them a reason to feel like they're justified. Like, if Emi Martinez is going to go out there and terrorize you mentally, one of the last things you want to do is make him feel like it's working. That's what you shouldn't do. Seems to be what they did. Don't make him feel like, hey, this is fine. You're getting under his skin.
Oh man,
I just shut up, France.
France. Oh God, yeah. So and Michael had in this morning. This is why people hate the French.
I mean, they have so many of their own issues they could be dealing with.
Yeah,
choose not to.
Instead you're dealing outwardly instead of anything else. So, So way to go, French FA and French Minister of Sport. This is a big tell. This is an absolute big tell with all of this. Like I said, it's the Friday before Christmas, and we're out here, and it's going to be all over the place. Jared, have you officially finished all of your shopping?
Oh yeah, we've been done. Everyone keeps asking me this question, and the answer has not changed. Yeah, we're done. It's fine.
Okay.
Like, I don't know why everyone asks me constantly.
Well, I mean, it's more for the collective than anything else.
Okay. Yeah, I've been asking.
How far?
I'm tired of answering.
Okay. Well, it was not meant to be. It was not meant to be a dig.
Script. Oh no! I don't take it as that. I'm just like, it's funny because like that. It feels like that's the thing that everyone always like. That's just the default question that people want to ask during the holidays. I'm like,
how's your Christmas shopping going? Have you finished your Christmas shopping?
Yeah.
I think I finished mine yesterday. Finally. Finally got it finished. It was the one last one last thing for the boss just to make sure that we got everything. And so that's kind of where we are. So once again, let everybody know here in the timeline where you are on your shopping, and are you done? I have seen a fair amount of folks racing to the stores where it's like a drugstore. Uh, Sean, legitimately, legitimately, Sean, if we got Peter Millar polos, I mean, we would put them out on the market. I mean, we trust me, and that's what we need to figure out what our next article of clothing is. I think that it's probably going to end up being the pullover or something. But no, we need to make sure that we have all of our apparel squared away, and we still do we still have the store where you can get your T-shirts and everything, and get to shopping with all of the great stuff that's done by Mile High 17 and all those folks. But yeah, you still can get all of your SDH apparel at the SDH apparel store. Go to soccerdownhere.net and click on the link,
And not only that,
and
you
you
can
can
get
get
your
all of your
apparel, and you can educate your friends with shirts like, friends don't let friends lay down behind the wall.
yes.
Coach people up in life.
I mean,
it's important.
If you're looking for the gift for yourself that doesn't have to be last minute, you can go to our store and you can get gear. We need to make sure that everybody knows that you can do that. Let's see. So this morning, Salernitana has confirmed that Memo Ochoa has joined, and he's going to be until the end of the season, free agent as of January 1st, with his contract at Club America expired. He has the jersey photo, so it is absolutely official. Memo Ochoa and Salernitana. And we've got to catch up with Nick about that, but that's a wild one. You didn't think that one was coming out of left field, but it sure as heck did.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting, like acknowledging that Memo Ochoa exists outside of a World Cup. That's going to be the weirdest part for me.
And he still has not aged, by the way. You look at Memo Ochoa.
Yeah, they put him on ice in between World Cups.
Kind of like they do with Luka Modric.
Yeah,
I mean, Luka Modric is allegedly
more extreme with Memo Ochoa because Luka Modric shows up during pretty much everything. But I swear that it's almost like they took Memo Ochoa in between World Cups, and he had to go wherever the hell they filmed this Indiana Jones on the Last Crusade, and he's just hanging out sipping from the Grail with the old Templar Knight. And then the World Cup comes around, someone walks in there, tells him it's time, he comes out and plays, and he goes back in there.
You've chosen wisely.
He chose.
Make sure that you drink poorly. Yes, make sure that you have those kinds of discussions. Howard Webb, and like I said, I'm bouncing around all over the place because there is like little bits and pieces of news, and I know that Alan Franco is another piece of news that we probably should be getting into here just a little bit. So it's something just to keep an eye on. Nothing official or anything like that, but just to kind of keep your spidey senses up about. Howard Webb's taken over the PGMOL, the Prem's version of Pro, and he said in one of his first interviews, and he was discussing transparency. He says he wants to increase transparency around VAR in the Premier League by sharing conversations between referees and video assistant referees with fans. Frankly, I think, now let me ask you this. Would you have an issue with it being like we saw in the XFL, where it was basically a live discussion and you heard what video assistant referee was discussing with the lead ref in the XFL? Would you want it something like that, or would you want it somewhat tape delayed?
I'd be fine with that, honestly. The only thing about that is you're gonna have to deal with the fact that you're gonna have to make sure it's on a tape delay, because you don't want to okay, we're gonna live broadcast the discussion between the head referee and language is getting blue. which is something that happens sometimes on the field, not even just between competitors. So you would have to make sure that the language is clean and make sure there's a tape delay. But I do love the idea of that level of transparency. Again, one of my biggest issues with Pro has been the fact that every time we get something going on, nobody wants to actually talk. Like, nobody actually wants to explain why decisions are made, which is important because, especially when you get controversial decisions, I think you can go a long way towards building the trust with fans of the sport when you actually explain what happened. Like,
Yeah.
hey, we ruled that y'all were curious about why this call was this. Well, here's why, and not wait until like and by that I mean don't bury it in a Saturday morning release, which is what they usually do. Don't do that. Like,
Yeah.
tell us straight up
Yeah.
what's going on.
No.
Like, and because like even when you get a pool
Or
reporter,
long after the fact in the prim where they finally. Yeah.
well, like the pool reporter isn't really any better
Go
because
for
the
it. Yeah.
pool
What about the
reporter.
pool reporter?
So generally, there's like a call that requires the pool reporter to get involved. Someone is designated as the pool reporter from the media. That person, basically writes out the question. Like they have to write it out, and they cannot ask it verbally or do follow-ups. It is the question written out. So you have to be careful about how you phrase it. This is kind of like
Right.
This is kind of like the movie Leprechaun, where we have to be careful how we're phrasing our questions. And
Correct.
then it is going to be answered by the official. And again, you're not there to follow up. Whatever their answer is their answer. And even that, like, they don't have to really give you an answer worth a damn. And sometimes they're just not going. And that sucks. Like, again, the lack of transparency is it doesn't help. Whether or not it hurts, I guess, is open to debate for some people, but it sure as hell doesn't help.
No, and I think that the key, at least here in the United States, is how you were spot on with this. If you're the pool reporter, the pool reporter has to be motivated to ask a question, or someone on the press row hands the question to the pool reporter. Then the pool reporter goes down and then asks the correct question, because if you ask it and if you ask it a certain way and it's not the way that it needs to be asked, then you're going to get boilerplate response, and it's not going to do anybody any good. And also, as you rightfully pointed out, the fact that there is no follow-up. It's like, okay, it's one shot, one response, nothing else. That to me is another part of this that needs to be addressed. Is like, okay, I think that you can, if you had a follow-up that was related to the question that you ask, I think that that's the key in all of this, is just to make sure that it's addressed properly. And to do that, sometimes you have to go down the well a little bit. You can't just sit there, ask a question, get a response, and accept it, because then it's not going to be, if it's still not acceptable and it still opens a door, then you have to have that follow-up capability. And I think that that's big. And I think that that's big here where Major League Soccer is concerned and where pro is concerned. What Webb said yesterday in his interview, he says, I think the number one thing I want to do is ensure that people understand that good officiating starts on the field with good decision-making, good management of the game, efficient and effective management of players, and that not all of the focus is on VAR. Most of the noise I hear when I've been outside of the English game about what happens with officiating here is around VAR. It seems to be the topic of conversation. It has been for a while now. Clearly, there's been some bumps in the road with the implementation, but good officiating is something that starts on the field. So the focus will be around putting coaching and structures in place to support effective on-field decision-making. Then alongside that is ensuring that VAR works effectively as a safety net to capture those clear and obvious errors that sometimes can still occur with the decision that's taken on the field. Increasing transparency, I think there's been a need for that to happen a little bit more, and drawing the curtain back on the process and showing people the rationale for decision-making. So I think that's where my focus will be in those first few weeks. He asked how VAR immediately needs to improve. He says, if it does, he says, without a doubt, it's ensuring people understand VAR sits in a place where we'll intervene when there's clear and obvious error identified VAR, and nothing like saying the same phrase more than once in back-to-back questions. And a minimum interference for maximum benefit, but I've got to manage expectations because there's a lot of situations in the game where it's which are really subjective, where people will form a different opinion. A criticism of VAR is that on-field refs consistently change their decisions when called to the pitch side monitor, with referees rarely sticking to their original call. Asked whether it's a waste of time. Go for it.
Okay, I want to see numbers on that because I feel like that's not as much the case. Like, and maybe my brain is broken right now. Entirely possible.
Right.
I feel like more often than not we see them stick with the calls that they make.
Yeah.
We see this in a lot of sports, honestly.
But
I think what, call it whatever you want. Say like, oh well, they believe the call was right. You will never convince me the ego does not factor into this. Not one damn bit in hell will you ever convince me the ego does not feed into this.
Mm-hmm. No question. And I'm absolutely no. I think you're spot on there. Asked if it's a waste of time for the on-field ref to go to the screen. Webb said no, it's not. Training we're going to give to VARs is around consistently identifying what is and what isn't a clear and obvious error. That's 3 times in one interview. But that still involves a judgment call by a human being that's looking at all the angles. That judgment call most of the time will be a good one because these people are highly trained. The referee goes to the screen on the recommendation of VAR, and usually they will change their decision if VAR is working properly. However, this human being, this VAR, who's made this judgment, might have made an incorrect judgment. They might have identified something they may think is clear and an obvious error, but the ref disagrees. So the refs are going to be absolutely empowered to say thank you. But in my opinion, I think my first decision was okay, and they'll absolutely be within their right to do that when they've looked at the screen. When refs get to the screen, they'll make their final decision. They can keep their call if they want. You won't see that so often if VAR is working well.
I mean, at that point, though, you're literally just massaging the conversation of like you're giving them that excuse to not, like you're giving them that cover of, that they're not going to change some calls. Like you're just giving them the cover, and then what are you going to do? Come out next week again with another one of these statements of, "Oops, our bad.
Yeah,
he got it wrong.
yeah,
Oopsie daisy." Like, are you going to come out with one of those again? Because I mean, those look like. We know Atlanta was part of one. I know there were numerous last year. Hell, the 2021 playoffs, you had a team get knocked out of the playoffs because a ref was incapable of making the correct call.
Yeah.
And just basically didn't. And then VAR didn't help. So don't tell me that it's like this. When it's functioning, it'll work right. Like, in theory, a lot of things work right when they're functioning. VAR is not flawless. And the problem with it is, the people running it sometimes they get to have say on that, and whether that's the main official who might feel strongly about his call. And there's some instances like if it's a judgment call, you don't want VAR re-refereeing the game, and I get that. But there are going to be some calls that you get where it's just, where they might do it incorrectly, where they might feel like, okay, we made this call, I still stand by it, and you're going to come out a week later with, hey, that was incorrect, our bad. Well, it doesn't help anybody at that point. Don't tell me it's going to work perfectly when it's implemented, because there's still human error associated with it, as there are with most things in life, and that's you just kind of accept that. I mean, we've accepted that in baseball for ever and ever, amen, because of the existence of human umpires versus versus a robot umps. Although when the robot umps do get here, I will be the first in line to not offer an apology to a number of major league umpires, because of, again, ego plays into this.
No doubt.
But VAR's not perfect. And there's people running it. It's sorry.
Yeah.
I'm very annoyed by Howard Webb in general.
Well, and what Howard Webb kind of seems to forget sometimes is that when you have a senior official, a more senior official in one of the two positions, like if you don't have a peer, like if it's just for the sake of argument, say quick trigger Chris Penso and Ismail Elfath in position A and position B. If you have a younger official and an older, more experienced official in one of those two positions, if the younger official, it's going to take a lot for the younger official to sit there and either disagree with the assessment of the older official or come up to the plate and sit there and say, hey, come over here and check this. This is something wrong, because you don't want to step on that older official's toes, because you don't want to come across as the young up and coming whippersnapper that, that's trying to make a name for yourself. Even if it is the right call, you don't want to rock the boat. And I fear that there are times where you have the younger officials where they don't want to rock the boat, and for the sake of job security, they're not going to make the call they should or reinforce the thought pattern that they really should have in the first place.
And I get that that's a thing. Like, I get you're not just gonna be able to break that. That's not a magic mold that you can just break. I understand.
Right.
It's absolutely asinine, the idea that, well, you're gonna have to do A, B, or C because that's what the veterans and the old guard, you don't want to make them mad because you might not get assignments. Not necessarily, you might not get your assignments might not be based on whether or not you did the game well. It might be whether or not you hurt someone's feelings. Nah, screw that.
Mm-hmm.
If that is the way that it is going, that does not mean it is the way it is going. That does not mean that is the way it goes all the time. Of course not. But if you are ever in a situation where you're cutting people's gigs because they didn't, because they didn't like toe some theoretical line, get all the way the hell out of Dodge. I just no.
Yeah. I'm going to do this every half hour since this is the last show before Christmas. It's the Christmas questions. Airing of grievances. We're doing airing of grievances today. And if you're going to do feats of strength here on Festivus, please make sure that the feats of strength are done indoors within the safety of your own home. And please make sure that you take care of your plants, you take care of your pets, you take care of your pipes. Make sure that everything, if you're not going to be in the house, make sure that your faucets are running and the cabinet doors are open to make sure that the
sound, my God.
Mm-hmm.
All my sinks in my house. Yes, and the cabinet's open,
Well,
John, is a good reminder. Go ahead and explain that why.
Well, it circulates the warmth and makes sure that everything, the warmth that is in the house has another pocket to go into, and something like that. So,
that's what I was always taught. So,
and so completely adding to the unofficial nature of Festivus, I'm just going to go ahead and bring in our next guest, and it's going to probably be. It won't be. Trust me, it will not be the normal 25 minutes that it normally is. Greg Garza, good morning.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
All right. So what's in the mug? What's in the mug this morning?
As always, coffee. Second
okay.
Cup. I still got to open my eyes a little bit. I think it's the first day I've slept in since, been a while.
Nothing wrong with that, brother.
Oh, yeah.
So I am in South Alabama. I am in the boss's childhood bedroom.
Okay.
And so I'm about 4 hours south of you and Jarrett this morning. And literally, since this is, I think this is going to be your last appearance before the calendar turns over, because unless Parky calls you next Friday morning and says, dude, I need you to cover for me for New Year's too.
That's fine.
How was 2022 for Beyond Goals?
It was great. I think for us,
how was 2022 for Beyond Goals for you guys?
Yeah, it was great. I think our first year in the books, a lot to look back on, a lot to be grateful for, a lot to continue to learn. But at the same time, I think, we created something wanting to give back to a game that gave so much to us. We've been able to do that. I think helping kids understand the value and vital key components of what it takes to not necessarily create success, but create some sort of consistency within their environment and path and journey that they are going to be on. So it's been it's been an awesome experience, and hopefully much more to come within the next few years.
Jarrett,
Yeah.
with Greg Garza.
Yeah, and that was actually going to be my next question, Greg. Is like, what's kind of in the game plan for next year? What can people look forward to?
Yeah, of course. I think one thing for us is definitely focusing more on the nonprofit side. We love what we do. We can't complain about the for-profit side, but I think at the end of the day, you look at a lot of successful soccer players, or you look at the NFL, or you look at the NBA, you look at other sports and other sports players that come from different backgrounds, right? And you look at a lot of really great players within the world. You can look at even the World Cup, for example. A lot of great players that come from lower income communities or underprivileged communities that don't have the right support, don't have sometimes the right guidance, sometimes don't have whatever it might be to continue to create success within their careers or within their path and within their journey. And a lot of times those individuals and those children that are growing up in those environments need the right people within their path and within their journey to kind of help guide them throughout certain phases and throughout certain things that they go through within their own environment. And I think for us, we understand that, and we saw a lot of players within our careers. I definitely saw a lot of players within my career that have that God-given talent, but just unfortunately from where they come from, or for how they grew up, or they just didn't understand all those other key components that I just spoke about. So I think for Mike and I, we saw a lot of that within our careers. And like I said, we love the for-profit side, but I think focusing more so on the nonprofit and helping kids achieve their dreams and look back and say, hey, I was able to play a role and play a part in that kid's, not necessarily success, because at the end of the day, right, I think it goes hand in hand of, whether they become successful soccer players or not. That's I always say there's only one person who knows that answer, right? But it's these kids that are growing up in certain environments, whatever it is that they do, and understanding how important school is, and understanding how important working in team environments is. There's going to be a moment in their life, in their adulthood life, of understanding those components. And I think that's where we come into play and kind of help them understand those things within life.
Any idea how many mentees you and Mike were able to reach out to and help this year? Is there a number that you can attach to it this year?
Of course. Individually, we got not active, but over the first year, probably close to about 250 kids individually. And within groups and teams, and working with Boys and Girls Club, and working with Soccer in the Streets, and working with different schools, we probably hit close to about 2,000 kids of just being able to speak to. So that's an awesome number. I think we want to continue to do that. We want to continue to aim. I think in our minds, the sky is the limit, but at the same time, still being able to give a message to a lot of these kids, and a consistent message, right? It's one thing if you go to a school and speak to them just one time, right? It's another thing if you go and you speak to them over and over, and you have this continuity of seeing where they are, and how the decision-making process is going for them, how their confidence building is going for them, what leadership qualities and traits they're building for themselves to be able to use in the future. And that's the beauty of it. For us, I think, the most gratifying part for me is seeing kids make change, right? Seeing kids understand the value of all the things that we go over and all the things that we speak about, and seeing them actually use it within the environment that they're in. And so that's been the best thing for me so far to see within the past year.
And we talk about going year over year, and I know from like a business perspective, that's just something we think about. But with kids, when we were kids, we're always thinking about like the immediate next moment versus the next year. How do you convey that to kids about like thinking about long-term stuff as opposed to just what's coming up in the next 5 minutes in life?
For sure. Yeah, most definitely. I think one major thing that I did as a kid, and I still do, was journaling, right? helping kids understand the value of journaling, understanding writing something down, right? You see something that you really want, and you might have it in your subconscious, you might have it in the back of your head, but writing it down allows you to understand, hey, that's a goal that I can create. That's an objective that I want to conquer. And that's that's something that we really want most kids that we speak to, and it goes differently for a lot of kids, right? A lot of kids feel really comfortable in doing like something like that, but some kids say, hey, I'd rather keep things in the back of my head. But I think one important thing that I look, and I use that own experience and that knowledge and wisdom that I had as a kid, and I was always writing things down, right? I journaled every single day, and when I moved to Brazil and I was 12, I was forced to by my mom, but at the end of the day, it really served something because I didn't realize I was writing down. My mom still has those journal entries, and I was technically writing down my future, right? I was writing down the decisions that I was going to make. I was writing down my dreams that were ultimately going to come true, and I was writing down, the things that I was going to do to kind of help conquer those dreams, and it kind of really stabilized a great mindset, and also really motivated me to do certain things within my career a little extra throughout the line.
What was it like when your mom said, hey, I still have these journal entries? Was it one of those moments where it's like, hey, I still have them, let me find them and give them to you? What was that like when you found out that your mom still had them?
It was one of those funny things to where she would go and probably read some of them and just take some goofy pictures and send them to me, and just be like, hey, look, you predicted this, right? I think that's the coolest part for me of just seeing, the things that I had written down that I had I had no recollection of writing. I knew I had to journal a lot of different things, the things that I wanted in my life at that young age, right? But I didn't realize some of the things. I completely forgot some of the things that I had written down. But being able for her to send those pictures and send a page of putting in the work, or having the ability to play in whatever this league may be, or I think one of the huge things for me is I always use the story for kids is playing in the Copa Libertadores, right? I got to lose a quarterfinal against Ronaldinho in the Copa Libertadores, and that's something that as a kid, I was watching. YouTube had just started, so YouTube had just come out, and for me, I was watching Ronaldinho videos all day long, right? And to be able to kind of share that moment with kids and say, hey, that a lot of those things that I probably wrote down was, one day I want to play on the stage that Ronaldinho plays on, and to get to say I got to play against that guy, 4 or 5 times within my career, and look back at some of those journal entries and probably use his name a lot for being one of my idols was pretty cool to go back and look at.
And so we're sitting here right now, not sitting outside. I'd be insane.
I hope you're not sitting outside, man.
No, everything is taken care of. How did you? Aside from the physical aspects of playing in this weather, we know we've seen guys, we know you have as well, playing in some of this insane weather. Like, how do you deal with that? Not just physically, but like the mental side of dealing with the intense cold.
Man, to be honest with you, bud, I have absolutely no idea how I played in some of those games in Minnesota.
Yeah, that's the one that 2018 comes to mind.
The 27. In both games we played 2017. Yeah. The 2017 game was the game that I just absolute blizzard throughout the game. And I believe that game was 6-0. That's the game that Miggy and Joseph just went absolutely off. That was the second game of our season. That was a solidifying experience of, hell yes, we have an absolute awesome team, right? And that was like the moment for us, at least all of us industrial, I say all us industrial American guys, right? That we're so satisfied with losing against Red Bull in our very first game, because we looked around in that locker room and we realized, holy crap, we have an amazing team. And all the other guys, I think, were so devastated, right? So emotional. All the South American guys, punching their lockers at Bobby Dodd, throwing their shin guards, throwing their cleats after the very first game of the season, right? It's a long MLS season. And then I think we go into that game and just absolutely annihilate Minnesota at their home opener in the MLS as well. So that'll be a game that you can always remember. And I think we absolutely just, crushed them. And it, like I said, it was a solidifying experience of us understanding. But to deal with the cold, all I remember in that game is I love to slide tackle, right? That was one of my favorite things to do as a defender. I didn't like to defend, but if I had to defend, I always wanted to get a good tackle in. And I just remember walking off that game, and it snowed so much that I remember there was a part of my shorts. My Adidas shorts of how thin they were, that was absolutely frozen. So on the right side of my shorts, my part of my shorts was absolutely frozen after the game. Like you could break off a piece of the short. That's how cold it was, and that's how crazy the temperature was. But that 2018 game, what you mentioned, is actually a colder day. It didn't snow, but it was a colder day in Minnesota. We played around the same time. I believe it was our third or fourth game of the season, and we ended up winning that game as well. And I had dislocated my shoulder, I believe, in the 60th minute or 65th minute, and we'd already made all of our subs. And I just remember I had to stay on. And I just remember Tata just absolutely screaming at the top of his lungs. And I don't think he had realized that I had dislocated my shoulder. And I mean, I just remember that game of it being so cold that if it were probably a hot day, I probably wouldn't have been able to continue. But of how cold it was like I was already automatically putting ice on my shoulder during the game, and I was able to get through. And I just remember the pain afterwards, but getting into a warmer spot. But during the game, it was so cold. But so to tell you how to deal with those things, it was so cold that I got to dislocate my shoulder and continue playing 20 minutes of the game.
When it comes to dealing with the cold, since Jared has opened this door, when you were a younger player, were you the kind of guy that would sit there and just be like the American football, the NFL lineman or the wide receiver that just goes out in shirt sleeves to try to make a statement? Or were you the kind of guy that was like, screw this, I'm dressing as warm as possible and as functional as possible? Did you try to make the young statement when you were younger and then get your senses about you?
Joseph Martinez was that NFL wide receiver right there, playing with in both of those Minnesota games. If you look back, I think Joseph is the only one playing in shorts in his short sleeve shirt, which was I still scored so many goals. I could not believe it. But gosh, I was the guy that tried to dress as warm as possible.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, yeah, and that's like the 2018 game sticks in my head for that reason. I remember you doing your shoulder in that. Just because I remember Minnesota put in like 50-something crosses in that game. Like I think Parkey and Chris McCann both had like 30 clearances. It just became basically playing head tennis the rest of the way.
That was a very difficult game, that 2018 game, and I'm glad we got to pull off a win there. I don't remember. Could have been LGP who got sent off. I don't remember who it was. Or
I think it was LGP who got sent off. Yeah,
because I can tell you
that was one of the like 5 times that he got sent off in 2018.
I can tell you. You talk about that locker room after the 2017 Red Bulls game and that feeling y'all had, because we were at a watch party in Marietta during the 18 game. And the sense from everybody at the watch party after the Minnesota game in 2018 was a similar feeling of like, I think everybody kind of looked around on the fan side and went, oh, we knew this team was good. Now we know this team has an absolute massive amount of grit to be able to go up there and weather that one. So that I think it was one of those that really stuck with a lot of people mentally of, they can play pretty, but they can also knuckle down.
I would say that one, and probably, I mean, I didn't get to play in it, but I didn't get to play in it, but I would probably say the San Jose game where they came back within that 2018. That's got to be a game to always remember, and what you just said right there, Jared, of understanding the grit and understanding, it doesn't necessarily always have to be pretty to get a result. But that was a game to where it just flipped the switch, and you just look back and you say, okay, that's a championship team right there.
Do mentees understand the value of grit these days? Is there a generational thing involving grit? Or do they get the idea that you can grit and grind, or is that something that they have to be reminded of, do you think?
Definitely something they have to be reminded of, right? I would say more so in today's world. You look at so many young players have an incredible amount of talent, but just sometimes missing that extra little piece of understanding that's such a small piece of it, right? That's a very small piece of it as you get into that higher level of play. It is more so that grit is what is always needed every single day in training, and that's what is the most important thing as well.
And I know it's not snowing outside right now, but considering you were all over the place in your career, do you ever miss the snow, or are you fine with just the cold weather without tons of snow?
You know what? I think I just remember signing for Cincinnati, landing in Cincinnati, and landing in the middle of a blizzard. And I just remember thinking to myself, what did I just do? I'm thinking, okay, what contract did I just sign of how cold it is going to be? Because my body, I don't care what you say. It doesn't matter if you grew up in Canada. It doesn't matter if you grew up in the Northeast. In my opinion, I don't think your body is ever immune. You can somehow get comfortable with it, I guess, and just get used to it. But I don't know how your body can become immune to the cold. I think you're always going to be cold, right? No matter what, right? And so that's from I love playing, and if it could be 40s, 50s, I'm okay with that, right? The kind of gloomy weather it was yesterday, that's probably my favorite type of weather to play in, because I feel like you can just run forever. But to where you aren't able to feel your feet kick a ball, that for me, I do not enjoy.
I mean, especially, I imagine that thing, when you kick it in conditions like this, it feels like you're kicking a 20-pound rock.
Or you just or you just don't feel absolutely anything at all, right? It's like you're gonna put in this cross and just hope for the best. I can't believe how cold it is. This has got to be record-breaking temperatures for Atlanta right now, right? It's got to be. I know it's the same. I drive to Dallas with my kids on Christmas Day, so I'm glad I'm not traveling in the airports right now, because I can only imagine.
No doubt. What is Christmas like for the Garzas?
Always just trying to bring together family, right? For myself, looking back throughout the days of when I played, there wasn't a lot of time in between, right? I mean, you looked at even when I was here in the MLS, it was finishing Christmas, and then you had January camp the second day of January, right? So you try to get family together as much as possible. And when I played in Mexico, it was the season was finished right at the end of December, or beginning middle of December, and you were starting preseason camp January 2nd, January 3rd. So it was always trying to just get the family as quickly as possible together, just to enjoy hopefully not a lot of stress, but getting everybody together and enjoying the festivities.
Yeah, because that's I was going to ask. It's about like enjoying all of that, and then kind of like re-gearing your mind. How much time did you usually allow, like, before you kind of flipped the switch to get back into like preseason mode? Like, was it did you have to like ramp up to it, or was it a certain time of year gets here and it's almost instinctive?
I would always say within the end of the years, you'd always think you were still in preparation, right? Because with the new with almost the no time of what you had with the end of the year, you kind of had to just continue that form and shape that you were already in. Whereas in the middle of the year, it was more so just not wanting to look at a ball for at least 10 days after you finish the whole entire season, right? You wanted to kind of make priority of what was important in your life, and that for me, that was obviously the family and the kids, and spend as much time with them before you started to ramp up in the off season. But during the end of the years, it was more so you were continuing to run every single day, continue to stay in shape.
What was the best soccer Christmas present you ever got?
Best soccer Christmas present I ever got, man. That was probably like a new ball every year, you know. I probably ruined all the balls that I had when I was a kid because I would just kick them against the wall all day long. That was my parents had a wall that was connected to the driveway, and I mean that was me every single day. I was just watching a video of Berbatov the other day, of him explaining why his touch was so good, and he used the wall. And I mean, if I were to think about my qualities as a player, is that I had a pretty darn good touch, right? I could kick the ball up in the air and still keep it in the air if I wanted to. And that was because I would just nail the ball at the wall and still try and keep it up when I was a kid. And that was my whole entire childhood until I moved to Brazil.
And even with kids now, when you're working with kids in the current setup, I mean, how much do you emphasize that, like, in their free time of like, hey, just go out and grab a ball and just go have it at your feet, go play, just mess around? And
that's an interesting question, because at the end of the day, it has to be them, right? It has to be them to make that decision. And that for us is that, you know, we can always lean towards giving them, you know, that best advice and saying, hey, you know, this is what I did. And I always ask kids, when is the most important time that you can train? And the answer is when nobody is watching. You know, and that's because you are the one making that ultimate decision and saying, I want to get better at what my passion is. I want to get better at, you know, it doesn't, no one has to tell me. A coach doesn't have to tell me. My parents definitely don't have to tell me to go outside and kick a ball for a few minutes or an hour or 3 hours, or in my case, when I was a kid, until, you know, it got dark. Right. And no one told me to do that. Right. That was what I wanted to do every single day. I wanted to finish homework and then hop outside and play until dark. And even if it was by myself. And that's something that you can, like I said, you can tell kids, you can advise kids, but at the end of the day, it is their ultimate decision to do so. And that's a huge difference maker in the line of, you know, which kid really wants it, right? Which kid really, really wants to take it to the next level, and which kid is really, you know, grabbing onto that opportunity and saying, this is what I want to do. And the kids that do decide to do those things, and even are still, you know, young pros, right? You know, I always tell kids as well, if there was something that I thought within my last game that I wasn't, you know, completely satisfied with, well, that next week of training, I would ask Joseph to stay after training every single day, and I would, you know, hit 15 minutes of, you know, 100 ball crosses, because that was something that I thought that I needed within my game. And there wasn't a coach that said, hey, Greg, you need to stay an extra 15 minutes today after training and work on some crosses. That was the decision that I was making, right? Even as a professional, and even as a veteran, I guess you could say, within that point in time in my career. But, you know, those are the difference makers of guys that play at a top level and you can learn from, right? And that was probably what I learned as a very young player, is that the guys who always do a little bit extra are the guys that get a little bit further, right? And so that's kind of the way you can advise some young kids. But like I said, it's got to be them to make that ultimate decision.
All right. So for those that want to take the next step and learn from two of the best, and you and Michael Parkhurst, how do they do it at Beyond Goals?
Yes, it's easy. All you have to do is just reach out to us, or just get registered, and then go from there. Obviously, you know, Michael is based in Ohio. I'm based here in Atlanta. We like to do things virtually, but always can do, whether you're based in either or, we can always do things in person, and focus, like I said, from the get-go, of focusing on those mental key components of what the game is, and how to understand the vital aspects and assets that you can add to your game, of understanding the importance of the mental game.
Greg, as always, it's great to have you and Michael on to talk about Beyond Goals mentoring and the Friday Free Kick. Have a fantastic Christmas and great New Year's. Be safe driving out to Texas with everybody, and make sure that that the gifts that you're wishing for are under the tree, and we will catch up with you next time around. Thanks for hanging out, Greg.
Hey, thank you guys. Hey, Merry Christmas to all you guys. Merry Christmas to everyone. And we will talk at the new year.
You got it, my friend. Be safe and enjoy what's going on off of camera right. Get back to folks on the cup of coffee and camera right. We'll catch up soon.
See you.
Greg Garza, Friday Free Kick, and Jarrett, I need to get the breaking news sounder. I need to get that back into the rotation.
I have sworn for years that it just needs to be the World News Tonight with Peter Jennings music, but my recommendations were ignored. So,
well, I mean, that just means that we've got to come up and get them into the queue. Atlanta United has a new goalkeeper, and it is Quentin Westberg. A couple of minutes ago on the Twitters, Atlanta United did the Five Stripes Don't Stop, and it was a very, very wavy Quentin Tarantino video. I didn't know if we could sign Tarantino as a video DP or not, but well done by Jason Nix, Quentin Westberg, as another keeper. And quoting Mike Conti on the Twitters this morning, quite frankly, this guy has killed Atlanta United over the years. His saved PK against Joseph in 2019 kept Atlanta from a second straight cup final, and he also had another one a couple months ago. So Quentin Westberg now is a part of Atlanta United, and so now in the fold, one more position that has been filled on the dance card as we get into 2023, and players do medicals on the 6th, and first day of training camp is the 8th.
I told you once, I'll tell you again, free agency in MLS does not work like it does in basketball and football, where it just hits all on 30. It just kind of trickles out like a faucet. And this is one of those. It gives you your cover on the goalkeeper side. I don't expect Brad Guzan back for opening day. Don't know when he's going to come back. Don't know what shape he's going to be when he comes back, because Brad Guzan is a little long in the tooth as far as soccer players go, but is still pretty young as far as human beings go in the 21st century. It gives you that cover. I want to see what they do otherwise. Like, I'm guessing it'll be Justin Garces as the 3 there, but I assume Garces and Vicente Reyes. I still have to buy him a Stretch Armstrong for his own benefit.
Yes.
But I'm assuming those 2 guys will be doing a lot of work in MLS Next Pro, but maybe Justin Garces is on the bench for you, start of the season, if Brad Guzan's not quite ready yet and he's coming back. And I mean, this is the thing, though. You can find backup goalkeepers in MLS who can step in and do the job. You have one for the longest time, with Alec Can, before, Alec took the opportunity to go be a starter in Cincinnati. I'll still never begrudge him for that. I hated to see him leave because he was a local guy. He did start the first ever game. He had some great moments here, but he wasn't going to start in front of Brad Guzan as it was constructed. And I'll never begrudge him taking that move to go play and to go be goalkeeper 1. I know he kind of got Wally pipped this year in Cincinnati. Kind of sort
Roman
of a lot. Yeah. Kind of sort of a lot, but yeah, man, go chase that money, go chase that starting opportunity, and you'll get guys now like I feel like you would have been. It was a good landing spot to get a guy like Quentin Westberg or someone else of that ilk if you'd gone in a different direction with the idea of, hey, come here and play. You're probably going to get a lot more minutes early in the season than you are late in the season, but there's also going to be a lot of schedule compression. We got a guy
multiple competitions.
We got a guy coming off a blown Achilles tendon. We don't know, you don't know if he's going to be able to go, multiple games in a week, especially in, with the modern day goalkeeper who plays a lot, like not just standing in the goal and parrying saves, but playing a lot of times as that extra passing option. So we'll see how it unfolds. But yeah, I'm not opposed to this move by any means. Go for it.
Atlanta United has come out with. Yeah, exactly right. 36-year-old spent the past 4 seasons with Toronto FC after beginning his professional career in France. Atlanta United has the quote from Carlos Bocanegra, proven goalkeeper in Major League Soccer in Europe, excited to welcome him to Atlanta. Wanted to strengthen our depth at the goalkeeper position this offseason. Quentin will be a great addition to our group. Born in France, came through the youth academy with Troyes before making his professional debut back in 2006 as a substitute versus Valenciennes. More than 50 appearances for Troyes. Summer of 2012, joined Luzenac AP of the Championnat National, where he received his first extended period of playing time. 2 seasons, 71 appearances, 27 clean sheets, earned him a move to Ligue 2 side Tours. Then Tours, he joined Auxerre on a free, 22 appearances there before coming to MLS ahead of the 2019 season. 28 matches regular season, 4 starts in the MLS Cup playoffs as Toronto FC won the Eastern Conference before falling to Seattle in MLS Cup in 2019. 4 seasons, 68 matches, 10 clean sheets. Save percentage was 60.7% or higher in each of his 4 years with Toronto. Chose to represent the United States internationally, played at U17, U20, and U23. So that gives you the roster of 32 right now. 3 keepers, 10 defenders, 11 midfielders, 8 forwards. And so that's where we are right now with Quentin Westberg now being added to the Atlanta United roster for the 2023 season. Very, very good pickup there. Also on the board this morning, we've got gossip, rumor, and innuendo. And next we are going to get into the Alan Franco news. Once again, right now it's just something to keep an eye on with Sao Paulo. And right now it looks like you're getting to that point of numbers being agreed to if you're looking at certain sources. But once again, just keep an eye on Alan Franco. But once again, as we always tell you, Jarrett, what do you always tell everybody?
And to check your sources. Just confirm your sources.
Check.
That's literally it.
Check your sources.
Like you see something tweeted, check who's tweeting it. Make sure it's not like a joke account. Make sure it's not someone doing a fake account sort of thing. It's tougher in South America though because we have our tiers. Like we know Garcia Grova and Cesar Luis Merlo. We know those are like your S tiers, but it's trickier. I don't know the Brazilian tiers as much as we're learning more about that.
Right.
But you just want to check, see how many followers they are, see if they're tied as a journalist to a station or to a paper or to an outlet, see how legitimate they are.
Bart Keeler joining us in hour number 2, and it looks like Bart, you're hiding this morning. Is that what's going on as we get close to Christmas? You're hiding from us this morning.
I'm not working today, so I don't have no reason to be at a computer, so I'm not going to be.
Smart
dog.
man. Yep.
Yeah, our offices are closed through Boxing Day.
Nice. And so Will is wishing you a good morning on the Twitch pitch. Quentin Westberg, the new signing for Atlanta United between the sticks.
Look, you got to have someone to back up Brad Guzan, or possibly start if he's not ready to go. I personally, Jared, I don't know how big you are on Justin Garces, but I'm big on him. And, I think that would be my backup. But you got to have someone back there. You got to have 3 goalkeepers, and this is your third. That's a good signing. I mean, he killed us last year. He absolutely, granted, any goalkeeper seemed to have a good day against us, but he was one of them. And he's a pretty good backup to have in this situation.
No, I absolutely think he is. He's a damn good backup to have in this situation. I'm not mad at that part at all. I'm very high on Justin Garces as well. I think Garces as your 3 is fine right now. He's gonna I would assume he's gonna split minutes with Vicente Reyes, with MLS Next Pro, with Atlanta United too. But depending on how Brad Guzan is coming back, maybe he's on the bench for some of these games. Maybe you give him a U.S. Open Cup game, or a Leagues Cup game, or the Necco Wafers game, whatever the hell cup they make up next.
There you go.
I swear to God, if Necco Wafers sponsors a game, I'm quitting everything. I'm just gonna walk off into the middle distance.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I do like the signing in the sense that you got a veteran guy. You're not expecting him to start 30 games, but you want him to spot start, and you need him to be there. That's it.
Because you're looking at the probability of almost 50 competitions this season. And even if somebody's healthy, 50 competitions is the proverbial ish load of games for your squad. And you're going to need a 1A. You're going to need a 2, and especially between the sticks. And if you can get a Quentin Westberg, I think it's a great pickup.
Yeah, and to Jared's point, I mean,
It's just
you're going to have multiple competitions where Garces, I hope personally gets a preference over Westberg because I would rather the young guy get a chance. But you're going to have multiple competitions in which you don't need to throw out your first choice lineup.
no, not a bit. Like when the defeaters are taking on Atlanta United in U.S. Open Cup or something like that. That's when you get these kinds of situations. All right, so Bart, as I've asked everybody this morning, you're done with shopping, yeah?
Yes, I am. I finished shopping Tuesday night, actually. Needed one more thing, went up to get it, and I'm done.
So let me ask you this. What was the best soccer-related Christmas gift you ever got?
Soccer related? Ooh, let's see. I got the 2006 World Cup qualifying cycle jersey for Christmas one year, and that was pretty cool because I was like, how old was that? 15, 16.
Years.
So that was really cool.
Yeah.
That was really cool for me.
Okay.
That wasn't the World Cup one, but it was one we wore during qualifying. So that was cool. I got to wear it during the World Cup that year. So that was cool.
Okay. And one of the things that I've kind of talked about folks this morning, and since it is Festivus, I'm going to go airing of grievances here, and we have recommended that if you're going to do feats of strength, please do them inside in a safe environment, especially this morning, because in checking in with everybody on the Twitch pitch, it's like wind chills of -1, and the lowest temperature on this date in Atlanta, I think, is in the low teens. But for Jarrett and Bart, I'm going to ask that you air grievances, but with a caveat. Since we have had, 365, 30 days has September, April, June, November, 8. Since we've had 357 days of grievances pretty much that we've already gone through, is there a grievance that has been left on the table in 357 days that you have not had the chance to aggrieve everyone else about, that has been there in the back of your mind, that's been in the back of your mind for 357 days? Is there another airing of a grievance that is on the board? Jarrett, you first.
Yeah, let's get this out of the way right now because it's actively happening. When the team posts something, and this is also going to stick into the standard discussion of, give the admin a day off. Shout out to the Atlanta Falcons, by the way, who a couple weeks ago during their bye week, their entire social media team took the bye week as well and just didn't do anything. Great job, because mental health is important, and it's especially important when you're doing something like, I don't know, social media for a sports team where fans get really damn toxic really quickly because they justify their existence as, well, I'm just holding the team accountable and I'm being a real fan, so I'm going to be an absolute asshole to everybody. And that's how I'm going to be a real fan and hold them accountable and tell them what I really think. I mean, look, stuff like that wears on people. And especially when, we're doing this right now with a new signing. Please don't let your first instinct go to be trash the new guy who just got here. Literally just got here. And look, I don't know how much these guys actually check social media for their own mental health. But on the off chance they do, maybe don't just be a giant dick just because it makes you feel like you're being a proper fan. Like, maybe just don't. There's no reason to do it. I mean, I know we all get mad. We all get super frustrated, especially after a year like last year, which was absolute frustration incarnate on a lot of different levels. Get that. But that's done now. So you can compartmentalize that and not spend your time trashing the admins. And the argument of, well, they know the job, they can take it, doesn't hold nearly as much water as it does And justifying being an absolute dick to people isn't like the justification that you think it is. I'll take a break.
Yeah, yeah, Jared, I agree. That admin has zero control over anything that goes on in the club other than maybe the social media graphic they post. That's about it.
And that's probably built by the marketing team. And they're probably
right. They're probably, and that's probably not even their final decision.
Somebody with Adobe Illustrator, in the marketing team had to go through an entire process with their team, with their management, run it by the higher ups at the club, build it, get it approved, get it over to social media, who then has to load it. So really, it's like up 3 or 4 rungs of the ladder before you get to the people responsible for the thing you're annoyed by.
Yep. As someone who manages multiple social media accounts, and one for a corporate entity,
yes, there you go.
We don't care. We don't care what you have to say. That's when all we see is you being negative. But anyway,
man, I hope everybody takes that approach. Though I just don't. I always have this concern that it just. I do always have this concern that it's going to wear on people who run those accounts. That it wears on them. It wears on you mentally. And if your philosophy on that and counter to that is, well, they don't need you defending them, they probably don't. You're right. But the issue shouldn't be whether or not they need someone defending them. The issue should be whether or not you need to be a dick because you feel like that's what makes you a real fan. Quit trying so hard to justify being an absolute dick to people. Just quit.
You know what? Have the group chat with your friends about the team.
Yes, absolutely.
Put that stuff in there. I mean, listen, we don't know how good this team will be this year. Hopefully it's better. But as I have done with the Falcons this year, you do not have to watch the games.
Correct.
You do not have to watch the games. There's a lot of ways to support your team. But I agree with you, Jared. The one way, I mean, when we said it, what was it? Wednesday, National Signing Day. Don't tweet at the recruits. So, there's no reason to tweet mean things at a social media account because they're just, and we're all guilty of it from time to time. But there's the difference between stating an opinion and being mean. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, DBAD. 357 days worth of previous grievances placed aside. Bart Keeler, what grievance are you airing elsewise this morning?
It's the grievance that I have with a lot of people constantly, and it's just this idea that there is some major conspiracy between MLS and U.S. soccer. And I'm going to make a lot of people mad with this, but the conspiracy is that they're both trying to make the sport.
This is about to be my best. This is about to be my favorite speech of the year. I'm so excited about what's about to happen.
There's a conspiracy in the fact that they're both trying to make soccer prosperous in this country. But if you don't understand why there is a connection between the league and the soccer federation, then you don't understand the history of soccer in this country. We are blessed right now to have a soccer league that is 7 years old. We have a league that has finally made itself actually known on the world stage. We had a good number of players represent at the World Cup for their country, not just the United States. U.S. soccer can barely manage its own damn self. Please do not pretend like they're also trying to manage MLS. And MLS is struggling to manage its own damn self. Please stop acting like they're trying to influence U.S. soccer. Are there some things that make it seem like there is a connection between the two? Yes, I fully understand why you think that some below average or average MLS player getting called up means that, this is an MLS quota. There's not an MLS quota, because if there were an MLS quota, they would pick the good MLS players to go to the U.S. men's national team. But they don't. They pick not great players. It comes down to the coach picking players that he trusts. Now, yes, there is a connection, like I said, between U.S. soccer and MLS, because there has to be. The reason it is more pronounced than in the countries that you think of immediately is because the two are still babies when it comes to being legitimate organizations in the soccer world. They have to rely on each other to build success in this country. But you would be very shocked to understand the connections between leagues and federations and a lot of countries at similar levels as us. Sorry that we're not all England, where the Premier League makes more money than the FA. Sorry that we're not France. Sorry that we're not Germany. But where we are right now, we need US soccer and MLS to work together to make the sport better and more prosperous and more visible in this country. There's not a conspiracy. They're just working together, and we need that.
Wow, there you go. So Jarrett, were you pleased with Bart's airing of a grievance?
Absolutely. Anything that's going to anger the Eurocentric MLS fan, absolutely. There's man, I don't know if y'all ever encountered the like Eurocentric segment of like the U.S. national team fan base, but it's a wild ride.
It's a bunch of people who just look at the Premier League and assume that that's what it is, and everything else is not good enough, which is valid. The Premier League is a very good soccer league. Don't ask them how they fare in UEFA Champions League matches, but hey, it's just really frustrating, Jarrett, because absolutely, again, they have to work together. I think it just comes from a lack of knowledge of where the sport sits in this country and where both entities are in their growth and development. As Jason says all the time, U.S. soccer has been functioning literally out of someone's basement for most of its time, and just now decided to move out of a literal house.
Yes. Hey, Soccer House, baby. Was it Soccer House AC?
Yeah.
It's one of the leagues recently.
Chicago House AC. Yeah, that was in the in Visa. Yeah.
Yeah. And this really, I don't know if this qualifies as the airing of a grievance, but it's more just a reminder. And Jared, it kind of button hooks off of what you were saying. When it comes to posting on social media, look, and when it comes to our conversations in general, there's nothing wrong with being nice. There's absolutely nothing wrong with saying something positive. And I think that gets lost a lot these days. That our natural inclination is to sit there and try to cut down instead of lift up.
It doesn't even have to be just that, in my opinion. Like, I am, especially because, to Bart's earlier point, I spend a lot of time watching the Atlanta Falcons. I have a lot of decisions that I make for my own mental health that are not the best when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons. It's been that way since 1994 when my dad took me to a Falcons Saints game, actually probably 96.
They should have called DFAX on him.
Well, he's a Saints fan. He is from just outside of New Orleans. So okay. I think it was 96, I think.
My first team was Falcons playing Joe Namath as an LA Ram.
This would have been, I think it was 96. It was Falcons Saints that we went to together, and the Falcons won. Greg Hayward was on that team. And yeah, that's just, I picked the wrong side that morning, I guess. Like, I thought that in 2009 when the Saints won a Super Bowl. I'm like, what have I done? I thought about it again in 2017 as I was watching Super Bowl 51. Like, what did I do to myself? I have made this eternally damning decision that when I get to, if you do believe in the Catholic concept of an afterlife, I feel like I've done my purgatory. I feel like I should be able to skip the line here. Like, this is time served. My existence as a Falcons fan is time served. Point being that I'm getting to with all of this is, especially like when it comes to social media, like, it's not even just about being a positive, like saying positive things. Like, but it doesn't cost a damn thing to keep your mouth shut. Like, you don't have to say it. You could just look at it and be like, "That's okay, cool, whatever. I don't really care about them signing a backup keeper. Okay, cool. Carry on with your day. You're not contractually obligated to jump on and like, especially tagging the man in the post. Like, don't trash the guy who literally just got here. Especially when you couldn't think about a lineup.
Doesn't mean that you're saying something meaningful.
Yeah. Especially like if you can't pick him out of a lineup, man, don't just let the man enjoy his day.
Jarrett, you'll appreciate
Yeah.
this. Not to get too deep in the weeds of Twitter comments and replies. Someone tweeted that Rocco Rios Nova will start over Westberg, and yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bud.
I hope Rocco has a very successful career. I don't expect it to be an MLS. I hope Rocco has a very successful career wherever he goes, though, and he just has a good time. I hope he pulls an Alex Tambakis. For those of you that really want the deep cut, of course, you remember Alex Tambakis for signing for Atlanta United. Was a goalkeeper, was the third string goalkeeper, played in one of the dumbest games in human history in 2017, Atlanta United, Minnesota, because Kyle Rainish, he was the fourth string goalkeeper. I'm sorry, because Brad Guzan was on international duty, not getting used by Jurgen Klinsmann or Bruce Arena, whoever the hell. I think Bruce was in charge at that time. Bruce called him in. He sat on the bench because old ass Tim Howard, who still couldn't at that point, who didn't have the mobility anymore, who could still
catch anything from distance.
Dude, Tim Howard was like a tank with no tread. If he could get to it, it's gonna get taken care of. But he just couldn't get to stuff anymore at that point. His Brad Guzan's on international duty. Alec Cannon picked up an injury, so it was Kyle Rainish starting, who gets sent off with a red card, and Atlanta's playing down to 10 men, and Alex Tambakis has to try and stem the flow against Minnesota at home. Alex Tambakis left Atlanta. I think he went to North Carolina.
He went to North Carolina FC, and then I think it was Charleston, and
then he went west. He was in New Mexico, I think. But
I think that's correct.
He is like he hit like cult hero status in one of those places. Had a great career for himself. I hope Rocco does that. I hope Rocco has that kind of like he finds his niche and he finds his place that is home and is a good career and he makes a living doing it.
77 appearances with North Carolina FC after being loaned to the Charleston Battery, but yeah, cult figure at New Mexico United right now.
Yeah, the Meow Wolf jerseys, they're great. Get you one, but. Yeah, man, just it doesn't have like the first interaction with the guy just got announced, and your first interaction is either anger or slander is a hell of a decision, a way to go about your day.
Yeah. So,
by the way, a guy who has a good record against us.
That's the thing that to your greatest sorrow in 2019 because he saved Joseph Martinez from the spot, and that. We have maintained for years. Bart, I don't know how you feel about this. I don't think we've talked about this game. We don't have to have this therapy session now if you don't want to, but if Joseph puts
that's Festivus, air the grievances.
If Joseph puts that penalty away, it's game over. Because it would have been like
100%.
10 minutes.
100%.
And then my personal grievance with that game is still Julian Gressel not closing out Nick DeLeon late in the game for the second goal, where he just didn't step to him. And DeLeon picks out the corner. That game, the XG on that game, by the way, is like 2.5 for Atlanta and like 0.19 for Toronto. They scored 2 goals that,
never should have been scored.
No, exactly.
No,
2 goals.
Jarrett, to go one step further, I would argue that Joseph should not have been taking the penalty.
Yeah. Who would you have had it take it?
At that point, either Barco or PT.
Yeah.
I mean, I know PT missed. That was the same year he missed that one at Toronto where he skied it over the net.
Because they got the penalty literally as the last kick of the game.
Yeah. But I do think that at that point, it was just clear that Joseph was not 100%. And not able to play 100%. But we could probably have another guy take the penalty kick. But you also weren't going to let Joseph not take your penalty kick in a MLS Cup playoff match. And also, at that point in time, you were so good in that game and dominating that you didn't think that one missed penalty kick would be the reason you didn't win. Yeah, if Joseph makes that penalty kick, we're hosting a second MLS Cup final. And
I will go to my grave.
We probably still have Frank. Yeah, we probably still have Frank DeBoer as our head coach.
Yeah, I will go to my grave believing because they would have been hosting that game, I think they could have beaten Seattle. They would have been favored. You didn't necessarily need Joseph at 100%, I think they could have handled Seattle. By the way, the first Toronto game, the one where PT skied the penalty at the end, also one of my favorite weird games because that was also the game where Toronto got a late penalty because Richie Larea kicked the ground. He went to kick a ball.
Yes.
He
Yes.
kicked the ground and fell over and got a penalty. And for some reason, VAR never reviewed it and went back to say, hey, this guy fell over because he kicked the ground like he was playing in a Sunday league. That's not a penalty. No, they just gave him the penalty. To the end of my days, I will never understand how that was not overturned.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jared, that game, I remember specifically, I was listening to that game while refereeing a station soccer match and having hard time controlling the end, because the end of that match was absolute bonkers. Absolute bonkers.
Oh man, I just had this vision of you with an earpiece, listening to the match in one ear, and trying not to blow your whistle over stuff that you're hearing on the radio, as opposed to what's happening in front.
Yeah, babysitting adults is what I refer to station soccer refereeing.
I shouldn't say I officiated. I got called in to do it. It sucked. I basically was like the league manager for a Atlanta Sport and Social Club soccer league one year at Piedmont Park, and I will never do it again. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Adult league Saturday morning soccer at Piedmont was like a 10th circle of hell that was made specifically for me. What was even better was multiple games the officials just didn't show up.
Of course.
So there were a couple games they were like, yeah, you can ref it, and I did. And like one or two games I did fine. One or two games I was horrendous at it. Like they were legitimately upset, and like I had to like have a whole conversation with the people at the office where I was working. I was like with ASSC and like, hey, we got to figure out this ref thing because I'm not good enough at this. I'm making them mad, and like they're going to be calling and demanding money back because refs just literally aren't showing up. It was absolutely horrendous. I hated setting up the goals. I hated marking off the field every day. Every Saturday. It was not how I wanted to spend my Saturday mornings. I will not recommend that for anybody.
No, I would not either, to be quite honest.
If you want to play in the Saturday morning league with your friends, by all means, go live that life. I cannot recommend like officiating a Saturday morning league.
You cannot recommend it. News out of Major League Soccer: Maxi Morales is leaving NYCFC. That's officially official.
Where's he going?
So, Racing Club.
Oh, good for him.
Racing Club in Argentina. So 6 years at NYC.
You just really hate that for NYCFC that they're losing two of their best players within the year. You just really hate that for them,
Well,
and they also
Tati Castellanos lost in a cup match. I'm pretty sure yesterday. At some point, I'm wondering if he just wants to come home. But
fourth division team in the Copa del Rey. And they lost Acevedo to Bahia also. So Acevedo out. Maxi Morales official, heading to Racing Club after 6 years in Major League Soccer. So very, very busy day for that. We got yesterday. Oh, did you guys see the Gummy Bear Cup match yesterday between Manchester City and Liverpool?
No, soccer doesn't start until Boxing Day.
Well, the Gummy Bear Cup match was a decent appetizer. 3-2 absolutely bonkers craziness between the unicorn that is Erling Haaland and Manchester City and Liverpool. Manchester City should have been up 2-0 in the first 10 minutes. They were up 1-0. Liverpool comes back to tie it, 1-1 at the break. Then Manchester City scores again in the first part of the second half to go up 2-1. Then Liverpool comes back, I think, a minute and 19 seconds later to tie it at 2. And then Manchester City scores 3-2. So Gummy Bear Cup advances out of the fourth round. It was Manchester City in a crazy one. So hopefully setting up some kind of madness and craziness when it comes to the Gummy Bear Cup going forward. But yeah, it was a good predecessor for what we're looking for on Boxing Day. Oh, and Jarrett, by the way, the conversation we were having about the world's best keeper, Emi Martinez. Unai Emery has said that he's going to have conversations. He's due a chat with the Argentinian about his celebrating. So Unai Emery says he's proud of Emi Martinez, but he's due a chat about the celebrating. Come on, man.
Is he going to tell him to keep doing it? Because
I would hope.
I could see Unai Emery having that conversation with him.
See, now that would be pretty sweet. Oh, and here's another shocker that just came out. We all remember one of the signings for Intermas FC, because I can't Inter Messi FC because apparently that's not going to happen now. But Blaise Matuidi ends his contract with Inter Miami and retires.
This is just a great Friday news dump for everyone. This is fantastic.
Frees up a DP slot and $4 million $4 million a year roster salary after being in MLS 2022 as a club ambassador.
Wait. $4 million a year? 4?
Yeah.
But he wasn't a designated player, John.
Oh, I know. But he was a club ambassador in 2022 and got paid $4 million for it. $4 million to be a club ambassador, but now he ends his contract with Intermas CF and has officially retired. The vision of Blaise Matuidi that will always stick in my head is Santi Sosa checking him into retirement, absolutely plowing through him, and it was a great clearance block. It was fantastic. It would have made any fullback proud, and I mean in American football. But yes, Santi Sosa body-checked Blaise Matuidi into club ambassadorialship, and now he is officially retired from the previous 7 DP. Well, it wasn't 7. I think it was, 5? Was it 5 DP that it ended up being? In the violation of the rules of engagement for Major League Soccer was 5 DP when you're only allowed 3, which created all the madness that Chris Henderson has had to negotiate through. But yeah, so Blaise Matuidi and his $4 million salary. Finally, the contract is over. He has retired, and he's out the door, Bart.
Wasn't LGP a designated player in that? Wasn't he found to be a designated player?
I think so, yeah. I think you're
right.
So
that was the problem, right? Like, you weren't even doing it with, like, big name players.
It's like, you're a DP, and you're a DP, and you're a DP.
They just thought they could do it with everyone.
Only thing missing was Oprah. Just yelling at everybody in the studio.
Thanks to Blaise Matuidi for, 5 games in MLS. That was great.
Oof. Man, that was bad. Let's see. I'm trying to think of anything else news-wise before we go. Oh, Jurgen Klopp is mad about not having VAR in the Gummy Bear Cup because he lost to Manchester City. Let's see. Quarterfinals of the Gummy Bear Cup. That draw has officially happened, and the only non-Premier League side that is left is Charlton Athletic. So it is Manchester United, Charlton Athletic, Southampton, Manchester City, Nottingham Forest and Wolves, and Newcastle and Leicester. That's your quarterfinal draw in the Gummy Bear Cup. Quarterfinals being played the week of January 9th, and it looks like it'll be the 37th time in a row that Manchester City will have won the Gummy Bear Cup by the time it's over. You making breakfast, Bart?
Yeah, I am actually. Sorry. Keep forgetting to mute myself.
No.
We're making grits, bacon, and eggs.
Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Especially, okay. All right. So before we go, and once again, thanks to everybody who's been hanging out with us, and may your Christmas be warm and your pipes be as equally warm and all those kinds of things. On a day like this, we all like to have, Michael Matuidi carrying on the Retirement League standard. Absolutely, no doubt about it. What is your go-to comfort food when we have conditions like this, whether you make it yourself or whether it's already made for you and maybe you get somebody from DoorDash to bring it by, something like that. Well, Jarrett, what is your comfort go-to food on a day like this?
I'll probably make like an egg and cheese burrito or something, especially on this kind of weather. Maybe make a hot chocolate. If I'm gonna DoorDash something, there's a good Indian restaurant down the road that does order like butter chicken and samosas.
Okay. Bart, favorite go-to comfort food on a day like this?
Well, I'm making some right now. I love good eggs, bacon, and grits breakfast on a cold morning. Um, and then usually I'll make some soup throughout the day. Last night we had some Vietnamese chicken noodle soup. It was not pho, but
Ooh.
it was I forget what it's called. They have a lot of different names for whatever. But anyway, did that last night. Probably do something similar tonight. I don't know. I have a pork loin thawing in my fridge because I was thinking about
Because it's
doing
warmer
that.
than it is outside. It's warmer than it is outside.
Yeah, it is. It's actually definitely warmer in my fridge than it is outside. So maybe something pork related tonight. I haven't quite decided what we're doing with that, but definitely good grits, egg, and bacon bowl in the morning because that'll warm you. That'll warm you up.
There you go. I think we're doing Omaha tonight. I think we're going to do something. It's probably going to be indoors, obviously, with conditions being what they are. But gentlemen, it's been great to have you on this morning, and I'm going to go over some gossip news, rumor, and innuendo before we go. So just be warm, be safe. Open up your cabinets with all your pipes and everything, and we'll catch back up on Monday, where it's Boxing Day. And that reminds me, I'm going to have to go over the juice box numbers because some of the games will have already started by the time we're back on the air on Monday. So, gentlemen, please have a fantastic weekend, and we will catch up with you on Monday.
Sounds good.
Merry Christmas, y'all.
What Bart and Jarrett said. So it's you and me for another couple of minutes here, just going over gossip, rumor, innuendo, and things left unsaid. Jude Bellingham's preference is to join Real Madrid from Borussia Dortmund, despite interest from Liverpool, Man City, and Manchester United. Benfica have turned down a €100 million bid from an unnamed club for Argentina midfielder Enzo Fernandez, who's been linked to Liverpool and Real Madrid, and they won't sell below the €120 million release clause at £106 million. That's from the Record in Portuguese. Real Madrid interested in signing 24-year-old Italy midfielder Manuel Locatelli, who's on loan at Juve from Sassuolo if they miss out on Bellingham or Fernandez. Chelsea have agreed to the €12 million move with Molde on David Datro Fofana. That's from Fabrizio Romano. That's a here we go. Chelsea and Senegalese goalkeeper Edouard Mendy snubbed a new 6-year deal at Stamford Bridge because he believes the club are not showing him enough respect over wages. That's from the 3-letter paper, so take that at your own peril. Cristiano Ronaldo set for a move to Saudi Arabia after his exit from Manchester United, put off Europe's biggest clubs off the 37-year-old forward, looking like it's going to be in the neighborhood of £130 million from what we're seeing, £130 million. Wolves boss Julian Lopetegui keen for Adama Traore to sign a new deal with the club. That's from the Express. Shakhtar Donetsk chief executive Carlo Nicolini has confirmed Arsenal are interested in signing 21-year-old Ukraine forward Mikhailo Mudryk, and it's going to cost them a fortune. Arsenal trying to sign 27-year-old France midfielder Adrien Rabiot, who will be out of contract with Juve in the summer. They've yet to decide whether to let Cedric Suarez leave in January, with Fulham leading the chase for the 31-year-old, who's also getting interest from Bayer Leverkusen and Villarreal. The weekly wage of around £75,000 is proving a stumbling block, according to the 3-letter paper. Crystal Palace interested in re-signing Aaron Wan-Bissaka for Manchester United 3 years after they sold him to Manchester United. Forest have joined Fulham in wanting to sign 29-year-old Mali midfielder Abdoulaye Doucouré from Everton. Once again, Forest is still trying to line up the idea of possibly more signings than points in the 22-23 season. Leeds have inquired about Everton's Mason Holgate, with Lyon also interested. That's from the 3-letter paper. First-team coach Mark Jackson is in talks with the other team that left Wimbledon and is now struggling in League One over their vacant manager's position, and Liverpool and Manchester United among a number of Premier League clubs monitoring Preston North End 16-year-old Argentine striker Felipe Rodriguez Gentile, who scored 5 goals in an FA Youth Cup tie. And that's from our friends at The Mirror. Getting into paper talk and transfer talk before we go. And we got juice boxes, I know, in the Premier League also that we've got to look at before we go. Let's see. Jurgen Klopp apparently is laughing off the Bellingham links, but is prepared for January signings. We'll keep an eye on that when it comes to transfers and everything going on quickly. And this is kind of a live ticker that our friends at Sky have. Antonio Conte says he's really happy, in quotation marks, at Spurs amid reports of ongoing contract negotiations. When he joined the club in November 2021, signed an 18-month deal with an option for a further year. Recent media reports have said that Spurs want to offer him an improved deal. Asked about it at his pre-Brentford press conference. I don't want to speak about this matter in the press conference. That sounds more like your what's his face, Arsene Wenger. But he thinks it's much more important than the game that we're going to play against Brentford. But what he can tell you is that he's really happy and have a good relationship with the club. We talk every day. We try to find in every situation the best solution. Liverpool's Jurgen Klopp says the impending departure of sporting director Julian Ward will not impact their transfer activity. Chelsea's boss Graham Potter was asked about the situation with Edouard Mendy in his press conference. Didn't give anything away. Quote, not my place to speak publicly about a player's contract situation. That's between them and the club. Mendy's absolutely been top with the club and with me. Great guy, happy around the place. Julian Lopetegui is not going to mention any kind of a link with Isco possibly coming to be a part of things at Wolves. Mentioning Mateus Cunha, says it's clear that he will be our player now, so I can talk about it, and he'll join us when the window opens. I think he's a complete footballer, very good. He'll be very good for us and be very good in the future. Graham Potter also mentioned about the joining of Christopher Vivell, joining the club as TD, technical director. Reactions positive, met him a few times, really good feeling he'll be an asset for the club. So we'll keep an eye on all of that stuff. Well, let's see. In the papers from our friends at Sky, and this is kind of looking at things through the English prism, Cristiano's right-hand man has reportedly arrived in Saudi Arabia as a lucrative transfer to Al Nassr edges closer. FIFA is coming under pressure to investigate the behavior of Emi Martinez in elongated Argentina celebrations after their World Cup final victory. And also FIFA is coming under pressure about the alleged racist abuse aimed at Kylian Mbappe by Argentina fans. Liverpool waiting on Jurgen Klopp to make a decision on the future of Arthur Melo. Reds have an option to sign the Brazilian on a permanent basis for a fee in the region of £33 million. We mentioned Rodriguez Gentile. Gareth Bale prepared to play on in Major League Soccer for at least another season, keen to continue his time with LAFC, also continuing his international career with Wales. Jurgen Klopp also told German media he was unable to visit Boris Becker during his prison stay because he was deemed too significant a security risk. Daily Telegraph, and this is interesting. Arsenal and England star Beth Mead has called for a global study into why female footballers have the increased, more susceptible to ACL injuries currently plaguing the women's game. Avoiding the 4-letter paper and the 3-letter paper, as we always try to do our best to. We mentioned Rabiot, Arteta, and Gabriel Jesus. Southampton are on the trail of Celtic star Liel Abada, although the Scottish champions are ready to fend off interest with contract talks in the new year. Algeria midfielder Ahmed Kendoussi, who's been linked with both Rangers and Celtic, could well end up staying in his homeland after league leaders Belouizdad confirmed their interest in him. Ferencvaros president Gabor Kubatov expect Tunisian midfielder Aissa Laidouni to leave the club in January. Admits he has no idea whether the player linked with Celtic, a host of French clubs, and Wolfsburg will end up plying his trade. So we'll keep an eye on that. Soccer, and this was one of the other things that I wanted to catch up with the guys about, but I forgot to do so. The notion, and we'll do it on Monday, the idea that FIFA now wants to possibly do the World Cup every 3 years. Anything to try to make more money. Sam Lady was announced as the Houston Dash's new head coach yesterday. Soccer on TV today. Turkish Super League is at noon Eastern on BN. CBS Sports Network has Ross County and Rangers at 2:30. And ESPN Plus has the Jupiler League out of Belgium, Ghent and Standard Liège. That one is at 2:30. Also on the board, let's get into juice boxes really quickly before we go. Yes, well, Michael, but you've been grievancing about them for most of the season. That's why I wanted it to be something different. Okay, so airing of grievances, those who say if America's best athlete played soccer. Yeah, no doubt will. That one's annoying, especially when the leading network for your English language coverage decides to do a full screen and come up with a starting 11 of athletes in other sports tied to soccer. And that was kind of silly. Ropes, you were not alone. So yeah, give me another grievance, Michael. Something that's been away from 357 days. 357 days of other stuff that you've been holding back with. That's the grievance that I'm looking for. Something off of the path from 357 days. What's a grievance that you've held? That's one I'm looking for. Ropes. Grievance is that their coverage of the World Cup. You are not alone. It was disappointing, and that's really the first word that I'm going to use, and it probably can go from there. And Will on Alexi Lawless's existence on coverage is a grievance, and you're not you're not alone there. So Michael, give me another grievance that is outside of the grievances that we've been talking about. That's why I wanted to have this be no doubt. But Abby, that's what he does. That's who he is. That's what he does. And as most pundits, and I'll use that word, those former players, positions of authority, whatever, he knows specifically what he's doing. He knows he's poking you in the sternum when he's talking. And that's the key in all of this. He knows that's part of his team. Okay, so Michael, that one works. But the thing is, Abby, then he's playing a character. And that in and of itself is probably worse on a couple of different levels. And, if you're, be genuine. I'd like to think that the person that you guys see on a daily basis here with me specifically is who you see when we get to shake hands and bump fists and all that kind of stuff. I like to think that this person is the same as the person that you see, because for me to try to put on airs to be anything different takes effort. And I'm too old to try to do anything that has to try to think about, okay, so if I do this and do this and do this, I can, no, that's too much thought. Just be yourself, but to have to think things through and be a character like a lot of the lead pundits and lead experts are these days, it's exhausting. It's exhausting for me to try to sit there and try to be something that I'm not. It's too much effort and too much thought, and it's not being genuine, and it's not being true and truthful to you. And as a journalist, it gets to me. But yes. So Michael, I will accept your grievance here. I will accept this grievance. Only truly follow 3 teams. All disappointed me greatly in 2022. So yes, and I know of 2 of the 3. I don't know your third, but being in the household and being as close in proximity to your home, I think it's a good 3 wood. For the record, between Office HD and Michael Head's home, it's a good 3 wood. And so, no, I'm right there with you. I know the grievances of 2 of the 3 that are the same in our house as they are in yours. Chelsea. Yeah, okay, there we go. Chelsea's your third one. I didn't know if you were talking about something else domestic. Yeah, Chelsea's, and I thought that Graham Potter was I thought it was a decent hire considering what he's done in other places. But I want to know what the patience level is of Todd Bowley. And usually when you come rolling in there with a boatload of money, you have this expectation of, we're going to do things my way, and we're going to spend a boatload of money, and it's my money, so we're going to do it my way. And that's what worries me about Chelsea specifically. So, Manchester United, that's another one. Abby, you may have your grievance over Manchester United continually. The Glazers, maybe, but once again, it's like, okay, if they sell, it's like the episode of MASH when Frank Burns leaves the swamp, or when your CO, it's like, if when Frank Burns leaves, what kind of a roommate are you going to get in the swamp? Are you going to get somebody that you like, or is it going to be Charles Emerson Winchester III? Who are you going to get for that new roommate? That's always the question, the analogy that always comes to mind when you get a new owner, when you get new players and things like that. Is it going to be a roommate that you like, or is it going to be a roommate that's going to drive you crazy? So we'll see with Manchester United and how things are with them going forward. So that's another one that's attached to what's going on here. I'm trying to think of what else is going on today when it comes to. Oh, that's right. We're going to do juice boxes before we go. Okay, so juice boxes because of a Boxing Day signing day. Shows you where my head is. Really quickly, TV over the weekend that we can get into Saturday and Sunday as everything ramps back up. Saturday, very, very light. Once again, Turkish Super League on BN, and same on Sunday. Then everything comes back on Monday on USA Network. TUDN has the Copa por Mexico with Toluca Necaxa. Universo and Peacock have your simulcast. ESPN Plus is back at it on Boxing Day with the Jupiler League starting at 7:30. ESPN Plus always has the championship with their Boxing Day as well. Fox Soccer Plus has activity in Serie B starting at 6:30 in the morning. So that's your viewing habits for the weekend as we get ready for what's going on. So today, after all of the action in the lower divisions, you've got Serie C in Italy. So as we work our way through Super League at noon in Turkey, then you get into North Africa, Jupiler League starting at 2:30, Serie C, Ross County and Rangers. Since we mentioned that one, Rangers is a -370. And Ross County is almost a +900. You've got the lower divisions in Scotland kicking off as well at 2:45. Then it gets really light. You have the Liga Portugal, Rio Ave and Maritimo at 3:15. Club friendlies, Copa por Mexico tonight. So look at that on TUDN as well at 8 o'clock Eastern. Club America and Pumas. Club America is a +112. Your draws a +233, and Pumas is a +212. 10 o'clock, Mazatlan and Santos Laguna. And Santos Laguna is a -104. Your draws a +218. The Kraken at home are a +274. And then you have A-League Women and the Santosh Trophy in India between the Telangana and Pondicherry. That one is at 10:30. So on that note, thanks for navigating the Friday. Thank you, Sean, with us. And we will be back at it again on Monday. Back at it Monday at 9:05. And we'll just keep doing what we do. And thanks to all of y'all for hanging out with us as well as you do and as much as you do. And for the airing of the grievances. And like I said, may your feats of strength be indoors. May your plumbing continue to function. Make sure you turn your faucets on. Keep an eye on your pets and your plants. Everything inside that you want to hang on to. And may you all get the pony that you're looking for Christmas as well. So once again, fantastic work. Thanks for Greg Garza stopping by. Thanks to Bart Keeler for stopping by as he was making breakfast. Thanks to Jared Smith hanging out for as long as he did this morning. And once again, thanks to all of you for making SDH what it is on a daily basis. Quentin Westberg is your new goalkeeper on the roster for Atlanta United. Maxime Morales heading to Racing Club out of NYC. Blaise Matuidi and his $4 million club ambassador salary at Inter Miami. They are now parting ways with his retirement. So, for all of us here at SDH, I'm just John. Thanks for hanging out with us once again on a Friday. Enjoy your Friday. Stay warm and keep an eye on each other. And we will be back at it again on Monday morning. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha platial. And since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. We'll catch up with you on Monday. Have a safe and warm holiday weekend.